Guys, this deaf child, the hearing loss, right, it can be associated with a few other symptoms. That time they become syndrome. Like a group of symptoms become syndrome. So there are many syndromes in which there can be hearing loss. So Waardenburg syndrome, Usher syndrome, right? We will not go through all these. Alport syndrome, Apert syndrome, Klippel-Feil syndrome, okay? Bronchio-otorenal syndrome, Stickler syndrome, Van der Hoeve syndrome. Some of them at least you can remember. All these names will be difficult for you to remember. But at least you can remember this Van der Hoeve syndrome. This is kind of important. Otogenesis imperfecta with history of fractures. These people will have blue sclera and hearing loss. Okay. But this will be a delayed onset of hearing loss. Then you have Pierre-Robin sequentia, Golden Hair syndrome, Down syndrome. Down syndrome also you can mention, right? These are not difficult for you to mention in the exam, right? Look at this image here. This is Waardenburg syndrome. The first one that they have mentioned here, Waardenburg syndrome. White forelock, heterochromia iridis, depigmentation of skin. That means the person's eye will have two different iris colors. Iris is brown here, little grey on top and brown here. So what syndrome is this? Waardenburg syndrome. So many syndromes associated with hearing loss. So hearing loss will be one of the symptoms of these syndromes. Okay. So what is syndrome? A group of symptoms. One of the symptoms will be hearing loss in these syndromes. That's why they have grouped all of them together. So what they are saying is, if hearing loss is there, some other features may also be there. You'll have to look out for them also. Let's do one thing. Let's just read these names again. Waardenburg syndrome, Usher syndrome, Jervell-Lang and Lang-Nielsen syndrome, Pendred syndrome, Alport syndrome, Treacher-Collins syndrome, that is mandibulofacial dystosis. Then Crouzon syndrome, craniofacial dystosis, Apert syndrome, Klippel-Feil syndrome, Wilder-Bank syndrome, Bronchio-otorenal syndrome, Stickler syndrome, Van der Hoeve syndrome. This is where there is delayed onset of hearing, blue sclera, and what was it? Otogenesis imperfecta, right? Pierre-Robin sequentia, Golden Hair syndrome, and Down syndrome, that is trisomy 21. Trisomy 21 can be one of the causes of Down syndrome. So in this video, we looked at the syndromes associated with hearing loss. Okay. That's all for now, guys. Bye-bye.